What's going on, everyone? This is the Fraser LeVay podcast, and we are talking week one NFL betting lines against the spread. And I'm taking all underdogs this week. Not all underdogs, but as you'll see, week one is always a crapshoot. No one knows what's going on. It's just the lines are as off as they're ever going to be as we kind of learn who some of these teams are. Because obviously, the preseason, nothing gets learned from that. So now's your time to take advantage, especially if you're owned in on some teams that you think are really good, really bad. I've got a bunch. Something to note for week one: 11 out of the 16 games, the spread is under 4. So that means there's 3.5 or under. I mean, that's under 4, right? Um, and I would say like 9 of these games, no one with a straight face could tell you that either team was going to win. In a lot of these games, I think you could be like, you could have told me either team was 2.5 favorites or 1.5 favorites, and I would have believed you. So I'm telling you, take the juice, take the plus 160, take the plus 120s, take the plus 180 in some cases, and don't just throw the lines out and just take the underdog if you really believe in the underdog. I think you should do that all the time, anyways. Um, but yeah, because week one, it's going to be the underdogs. I just have a feeling, especially at 11 of the 16 games, even a couple others. So let's dive into it. I'll go game one by game one or game by game, and in week one, and I'm already 0-1. I took the Chiefs. Sorry, I took the Ravens +3. It was a revenge game. The Chiefs really don't care too much about the regular season. I mean, they do, but they don't have to. They're in self-preservation mode. I think they're going to run the ball a ton this year and just keep Mahomes and Kelsey healthy. And I mean, that's what we saw a lot of. There wasn't a ton of Mahomes trying to be a superhero. It's week one. Meanwhile, Lamar was trying to be a superhero, and he was amazing. I'm all in for Lamar Jackson's effort last night. That's going to be another hopefully MVP season if he doesn't get hurt, because that was sacrificing his body. He was playing like it was a playoff game. Love to see it. But yeah, I'm going to cover this more in the next podcast. But if you don't come correct with the Chiefs, you're going to lose. Terrible clock management to end the first half, screwing around with timeouts in the second half to start that off. So then they didn't have any to end the game. Missed block on fourth down. It seems like Andy Reid and Mahomes don't have these mistakes where the Ravens made countless. And you can't make 3, 4, or 5 major mistakes, hit Mahomes after the whistle, out of bounds. It's just, you make a mistake, you're going to lose. And we saw that. And just by not even a toe, like by a quarter of a toe. But yeah, so I feel like that doesn't count. I'm going to wash. Sure, I'm 0-1 if we're going to, but let's just say I'm 0-0 because that was a close one. Uh, the Packers versus the Eagles. This is one of those ones. It's -2.5 for the Eagles. And how? The players aren't allowed out of their rooms for like 3 or 4 days. I mean, I guess to practice and that's it. They flew, all the way down to Brazil. It's just a weird game. I would not bet this game whatsoever, but if you're a junkie and you need to, then I would not take the Eagles. I mean, take the Eagles, but just take the juice. The Packers are plus 120 if you just take them straight up. So I think either team could win. I don't know who with any confidence could tell you one way or the other. And I love the Packers this season. I also like the Eagles to come back better this season. So it's really a push for me, and I would just take the points. So, by the way, check out faneverland.com, the new website, Faneverland, for this, lines, fantasy football, all sports. Check it out, faneverland.com, where you can go through all these lines, and I have a lot more notes and info on it, trying to just breeze through the ideas and the lines for you this week. So, next game, we've got the Titans at the Bears. The Bears are 4.5 favorites. In what fucking world are the Chicago Bears 4.5 favorites over anybody? Everyone is all in on the Bears. If this game was 3.5 or 2.5, I'd be like, all right, fine. I'll give it to you. The Titans aren't good. Will Levis, I think, is one of the worst QBs in the league. But this hype on the Bears, and watch them prove me wrong and win by 15. But I don't know. The Titans added some decent guys on defense. who knows? There are who knows, but I just know that I'm never going to trust my money with the Bears minus 4.5 in a week one. If they go ahead and prove it, if this game was, say, week 4 and they've gone 2-1 and they're looking nice, I get it. But week one, I'm not buying the hype. So, as you know, I've been selling the Bears all off season, and I'm sure they'll be mediocre, but they're picked to make the playoffs and just enough. This is a lock of the week, so write it down. Lock of the week: Titans 4.5. Take those points, and I think they're like +2 something to win the game. So maybe I don't like that. Let's not get crazy, but they will cover. I think it'll be a close game because both teams are mediocre at best. Steelers Falcons, another lock of the week. The Falcons are 3.5 favorites, and I'm saying hell no. The Falcons defense is terrible. The Steelers defense is going to be top 10. It might be top 5. Arguably, it will be top 5. Whether it's Russell or Fields playing quarterback, I don't know if they'll move the line much. It was 3.5 with Russell. With Fields, who knows? But I still don't think the Falcons will stop the Steelers whatsoever. Tomlin will control the clock, run the ball down their throats. So, yeah, I'm just not buying the Falcons again, another hype team, because Kirk Cousins, who never wins against winning teams anyways. And if it was the Falcons, minus 2.5, maybe I'd take the Falcons, but minus 3.5, I think it would be a 3-point game. And I think that the Steelers could just win outright, which a lock at 3.5 is one of my locks of the week. And then I like the Steelers plus 156. If you take them just to win the game flat out, that's great. Great juice, great value. So I love that. Jaguars, Dolphins. The Dolphins, minus 3.5. Same thing. The only thing that scares me is Mike McDaniel will have a bunch of weird plays he drew up that I'm sure could blow this game wide open. I can see the Dolphins winning by 15. I can see the Jaguars winning a close one. I'm taking the Jaguars to keep it close. Again, I think if this was 2.5, I would maybe take the Dolphins. 3.5, I'm saying no. Field goal game, and the Jaguars could pull off the win. Miami's defense is looking nice, but I'm huge on Trevor Lawrence this year. I'm always down on Tua, especially in close games. So if they don't blow it out quickly, the Dolphins get out to a fast giant lead, then if it's tight the whole way, it's Jaguars. But I'm sticking with the Jaguars plus 3.5. Love that. It was almost a lock of the week, but I definitely am scared of Mike McDaniel and some weird plays he might drop for the first game. If this was again later in the season, taking the Jags plus 3.5 all day as a lock of the week. Once there's more film on these plays Mike McDaniel will have, the league seems to catch up. But at the start of the year, the Dolphins always seem to have some new gadgets and gimmicks that work out well for them. So we'll see. Patriots Bengals, this is a tough one. We've also got holdouts and whatever else. Minus 8.5 for the Bengals. It's a big spread. The Patriots are terrible. I keep on thinking of like the old Patriots, and there's no way. They have too much pride. They got blown out by over 10 points or over 9 points like 4 or 5 times last year, if I'm not mistaken. So it can happen. I think Burrow wants to send a message that they're back and they're at home, hasn't played in a while. They're going to be excited. Zach Moss could run for 3 touchdowns, and I benched him in fantasy. So I'm taking the Bengals with the spread. There's also always games where they don't know when to make it 16.5 points or 14 points because they're scared. The sports books, I mean. And this might be one of those where if this was week 2 and after we see what happens to these teams, this line could have been minus 14 for the Bengals. So I kind of like it. Take them when it could be a blowout. But again, week 1's always tough both ways. Texans, Colts, another lock of the week. The Colts are 2.5 point underdogs. I think Houston blows them out by 10. As you know, I'm not a big fan of Anthony Richardson. Their defense is bottom 10 of the league. The Texans should have a top 10 defense. They have one of the best offenses in the league, it looks like. Yeah, so that's just really it. I'm taking the Texans minus 2.5. That's a lock of the week. We're going to gather all these up, of course, and tell you how good I did next week. So, lock of the week, we've had 3 or 4 so far. Those ones I love, I guarantee you win over half of those, and that means you win money, right? And then if you also just bet them straight up with the juice, here we go. Vikings, Giants. I'm a Vikings fan. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen here. I will say, I think the Giants are going to be sneaky mediocre. They were terrible last year. What was their record? They're 6-11. But the year prior, they beat the Vikings handily in the playoffs. They were looking really nice. And going into last year, everyone was on the Giants. They were going to be a breakout candidate. They're supposed to be the Texans last year. Of course, the wheels fell off. They were nothing. But they added some great pieces on defense. They're going to have an amazing defensive line. Daniel Jones, he really had a half-decent year 2 years ago. And all he has to do is do that again, and they'll be mediocre. The Vikings. So I think the Giants will be all right. The Vikings are in rebuild. So I'm taking the Giants plus 1.5. But you might as well take 106, plus 106, take the points versus just taking the spread, which would get you minus 110. Just take the Giants to win flat out. But again, I think stay away from this game because who the hell knows with either of these franchises. Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints. Saints are minus 3.5. I just had like a weird epiphany. I knew this or most of this, but I didn't really know it. But I just realized that the Panthers, let me start over. I'm going to make this a little snippet for TikTok. Did you know the Carolina Panthers have traded away their 4 best players in the last 3 years? Insanity. Christian McCaffrey, 2 years ago. DJ Moore, last year. Brian Burns, this year. And in a roundabout way, Caleb Williams. Oh, wait, there's more. Also, in that Caleb Williams trade, they also lost Jalen Carter, who was the rookie runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year and is going to be a monster all year. And who knows, he could have been one of their best players. So really, they lost 4.5 of their best players on their team in the last 3 years. This franchise is an absolute dumpster fire. Even Luke Combs tweeted about them, that they just lost everyone for nothing. Like, at least get something back for McCaffrey. Get some good stuff. Like, a cold beer couldn't break Luke Combs' heart, but the Panthers have. The Panthers are absolutely awful. The worst franchise, maybe not in sports. I'm sure there's worse, but definitely in the NFL. And the stories about the owner who's like just weird and throwing middle fingers and being a douchebag. I'm sorry, Panthers fans. If you hurt Luke Combs, you know it's a rough place to be. So I'm taking New Orleans Saints minus 3.5. They're going to blow the Panthers out. I really hope. I don't know why the quarterback's name is escaping my mind, but I really hope he turns out okay. He's just so tiny. But I just, you always want young players to do well and not just get absolutely shit canned over and over and over for years to come. But it's not looking good down in Carolina. This is a lock. The Saints minus 3.5. So another lock for you. Cardinals, Bills minus 6.5. This one's a little scary because Kyler Murray healthy has been like a QB5 stats wise since he came in the league in 2019. So the Bills D also tons of losses, not looking great. But I do believe in Josh Allen. I think he's somehow underrated, even though he's not. But I mean, they've won 4 straight division titles. He's gone 11 or 13 wins every season. I think it was 13 wins twice in the last 4 years. He will spread the ball around. He did in the playoffs last year. I think he had 10 different receivers in their final game against the Chiefs. Diggs was like 4th or 5th in yards for their first game against the Steelers. Gabe Davis wasn't even a factor in any of those games. So, I mean, he didn't have any catches. I think he was hurt, or even if he did play, it doesn't matter. He didn't have a catch. So they're not going to miss Gabe Davis. And Diggs, I think he was just causing more problems. The losses on defense, that's kind of where the issue will be. But I'm going to take the Bills minus 6.5. The Cardinals just have a terrible defense on the road. I think the Bills really want to prove something. I would stay away from this game because who knows? It could a last second field goal or a missed field goal and watch it's -6. But yeah, taking the Bills. Raiders, Chargers, -3. Um, Jim Harbaugh. Check out fanneverland.com. I've got some stats on Jim Harbaugh. He's the 5th winningest coach in NFL history. He just wins at Stanford, Michigan, obviously. The guy's an animal. So it's hard not to love. My favorite bet, my 2 favorite bets of the year, Jim Harbaugh plus 850 coach of the year. And I bet the Bears at even odds to not make the playoffs. Those are the 2 bets I place the most money on because I believe in the most. We'll see how that goes. But this game could go kind of either way. I think the Raiders might have a sneaky good defense. They added Christian Wilkins. They're going to be trash on offense. They might not be. Who knows? I have the Chargers -3. If it was 3.5, I would have taken the Raiders. But under 3, I'm going to go Chargers because they win in a close one. Harbaugh will will them to win, but it'll be tight. Broncos, Seahawks. Seahawks are -5.5 favorites. I'm not a Bo Nix fan. He was 34 years old playing against kids in college. He wasn't actually 34, but you know what I mean. The line is really perfect. Like I think it'll be right in that realm. I like the Seahawks this year to do much better than they did last year. They're a resurging team in 2022. Then I don't know what happened to Geno and the team, but I see a little bounce back year. It's a shame they play in a pretty tough division, at least at the top 2. But the Broncos are just awful. So I'm going to take the Seahawks -5.5. Again, it's not a lock whatsoever because that game could swing by a field goal. You never know. Cowboys, Browns -2.5. If you told me either team was favored in this game, I would have believed you. I mean, the Browns, great defense. We'll see on offense. The Cowboys can't win big games, and this is kind of a big game. It's going to come down to the QBs for me. While I don't love Dak, I love him in the regular season to put up stats and points. So I would just take the Cowboys +120 straight up. Either they win the game and you get that +120 value. No point in taking the spread. So yeah, there you go. And with all these games, like there's this +120 here, there's a +160. There's a whole bunch of these where just take the underdogs, as I mentioned, and you'll be better off because you can lose a couple more and still be fine because you've got that juice. Commanders, Bucks, another lock of the week. The Bucks are favored 3.5, and I am out on Jaden Daniels. Again, a little hype train. The Commanders' defense is god awful. The Bucks' defense is in the middle of the pack. The Bucks' offense in the middle of the pack. I think the Commanders' offense is going to be god awful. What does god awful mean? You have to search that up. That can't be a good thing to say, right? If you believe in God, if you don't, then I guess you say whatever the fuck you want. But yeah. Anyways, Daniels is a freak. He's going to be fun to watch. Maybe is he going to be a franchise quarterback? I don't think so. Everyone seems to believe that, except for myself. He can't throw from the pocket or in the middle of the field. He's good at obviously wide open receivers. He had 2 first-round picks at wide receiver go this year. He's going to have a third go next year that he was throwing to. His tackle is going to be a top 5 pick in next year's NFL draft. He had one of the best offensive lines in college football. And he was way older than everyone else in college. So I'm out on Jaden Daniels. Lock of the week, Buccaneers -3.5. And yeah, on to the next. Rams, Lions. Lions 3.5 favorites. If it was a 2.5 line, I'd give it to the Lions. 3.5. I think this is a close game. Just like I was saying with the Ravens and the Chiefs. The Lions don't have a ton to lose. I mean, they do, but it's a revenge game for the Rams. They can't lose this one. They need to show they're for real. At least, the very least, they keep it close. The Rams could have and maybe should have won the playoff game last year. So I like the Rams. I'm reluctantly out on the Lions for this year. I just think they're going to be hunted now a bit more. They're still going to do good. I just think the Packers might catch them in the division, and the Lions could end 5th in the conference instead of a lot of people having first going to the Super Bowl. But we'll see. I mean, I'm a little scared of that take. but I'm going to stand on it. My heels are dug in. Also, the Rams plus 166 to win outright. Love that. Take that juice. 166 win outright. But also, I like the minus or the plus 3.5. That's the lock of the week. Rams plus 3.5 because, I think it could be a 3-point game either way. Then we're on a Monday night. Jets, San Francisco. It was a Monday night last year, wasn't it? Where Rodgers went down in one of the craziest starts to a season ever. This is a lock of the week. I'm taking the Jets all day to cover. Are you kidding me? This actually might be. What's that? There's one. The Bears is a close second, but Jets to cover the 49ers is my favorite bet. My favorite pick of the week because there's no way it's not a 3-point game, right? And the Jets could easily win. The Jets plus 180. Love that bet. Take that all day. Maybe not all day, but most of the day. But take the Jets to cover 4.5 all day. Their defense is one of the top 2 in the league. They've got Aaron Rodgers healthy. And people forget the Niners lost a lot of shitty games last year. It's not like they're unbeatable. So 4.5 is crazy to me. I think in any game of like top teams, which the Jets will be as long as Rodgers is healthy, take a close game all day. 4.5, it's easy money. So faneverland.com, the Fraser LeVay podcast. Come back every week for lines. We'll recap how I did this week. I'm already on one, but remember, we don't talk about it. It doesn't count. Enjoy. Got power rankings of quarterbacks coming. Tons of stuff. faneverland.com, Fraser LeVay podcast. See you later.